ברוך אתה אדוני, אלוהינו מלך העולם, אשר קידשנו במצוותיו, וציוונו לעסוק בדברי תורה. Blessed are you, O Lord our God, King of the universe, who has sanctified us with his commandment and has commanded us to be engaged with the words of Torah. O Lord our God, we ask that you make the words of your Torah sweet in our mouths and in the mouths of your entire people of the greater house of Israel. May we, our descendant and the descendants of your people, know your name and study your Torah for its own sake. Blessed are you, O Lord, who teaches Torah to his people. Blessed are you, O Lord our God, King of the universe, who chose us from all peoples and gave us his Torah. Blessed are you, O Lord, who gives the Torah. So, we're going to go into Daniel 7. So I'm calling this series, Is It Really the End? Because this is what prompted me to do that. People asking, oh, is it the end of the world? You know. And last week we saw that it's not going.
Yeah, it is.
Okay. Last week we saw that we learned about the dream of King Nebuchadnezzar, a dream that outlined the whole history of the 7 major empires of the world from beginning to end. Not really beginning, it starts at Babylon. You know, there was 2 major empires before, other civilizations before, but we're talking about world dominions here. So, and this is so here is what happened after that. The king Nebuchadnezzar fell on his face. I wanted to show Nebuchadnezzar's reaction, because it's becoming a trend. His reaction to Daniel being able to explain the dream and interpret it. It says, Nebuchadnezzar fell on his face and worshipped Daniel. Must have been quite impressed. He ordered that a grain offering, incense offering be offered to him. To Daniel the king said, your God is indeed the God of gods. Basically he's saying that the God of Daniel is above his own God, which was Marduk or something like that, his own idols. He's the God of gods, the Lord of kings. He's making the God of Daniel his own Lord, the Lord of kings. He's a king. And a revealer of secret. Revealer of secret has been a name given to God in Jewish liturgies forever. The song Anabahoa ends by that. Yodea Ta'alumot. And then, since you have been able to reveal this secret, the king promoted Daniel to a high rank, gave him many rich gifts, and made him governor of the entire province of Babylon and head of all the sages of Babel. So this is Daniel obtained quite a position in Babylon. He was head of all when it says the sages, it means all his advisors, his counselors, his magicians. He was the head of all of them. You know, so, and actually, in the Yad date, if you saw last week, as a media suggestion, I put something about the Star of Messiah. It's a very nice little, I think it's very nicely made. And you know, where did these Magi's come from? Who were they? Well, they were actually, there was Zoroastrian people, different religion, idolatrous religion, worshipping the stars, the sun. They were astronomers. And, but what did they have? Why did they come? Who told them? What do they care? What do they care? You know? And there is a legend. There's not really documentation, but there's a legend that says that actually because Daniel was the head of all all the astronomers and the wise men of Babylon, and he, in his prophecies, when he talks a lot about Messiah, he had a lot of information. He gives some of the most important, most specific prophecies in Daniel 9, which we will do together. He gives one of the most specific prophecies about the time of the first revelation of Messiah. So, and there is a legend that says that he knew of a star conjunction at the time of the coming of Messiah. The word that is used for star in Hebrew is the word kochav. Can you say kochav? Kochav. And kochav means star, and it means constellation. So he knew about a conjunction or a constellation of stars that will happen, and he told them, well, when you see that, and you can calculate, stars is mathematical, you can calculate in the back and in the future. You can do that. You can do that if you know how to do it. And he told them, at that time, this is when the Messiah is going to come. They're not Jewish. The Messiah of Israel is going to come. They're not Jewish. The Messiah of Israel brings redemption, not just on Israel, but to the rest of humanity. So it was a very important event that they went to. And also, they say that, it is said in that little legend that, Daniel was not married, he didn't have any children, but he was a rich man. And he didn't have anybody to give his inheritance to. So that the gifts that the Magi brought were actually part of Daniel's inheritance that he told them to bring to the Messiah. So there is it's something in early Messianic Judaism that is taught, and I can't say there is evidence to it, but it's one of those common things. We don't know if it's true, but it would make sense. Why did this Magi come? Connection we have to Messiah and Magi is Daniel. So, as we can see, Daniel becomes.
Can you say how many years Daniel was before Messiah?
500 years, 550 years before Messiah. Give or take a couple of hundred. So in Daniel, being the chief wise man of Nebuchadnezzar, we see the story of Joseph and Pharaoh repeated. Like Joseph was the head of everything under Pharaoh again. We see this as a trend. And to me, I like to use this as when I was a young Zionist, now I'm an old Zionist, in Zionist group, they used to teach us about Joseph, Daniel, and Esther, who became part of the king's Pharaoh's household, and because of it, they had great influence or intel on what was going on in order to help Israel. And we were always taught that it's very important for us at a time like this to be wise. Like Daniel was very wise with Nebuchadnezzar. Joseph was very wise with her, uncompromising but wise. Esther was very wise. They lived in pagan household, but they knew how to not be abrasive and say, I'm not going to do that, my God. They knew how to ride the wave and be able to be a blessing. And I think personally, that's what we all need to learn. As times get worse and worse, to not be abrasive because of our faith, but to know how to ride the wave and be able to, so we can be in some of these positions to be a blessing for the people. So as you can see here, King Nebuchadnezzar makes a confession of faith. So let's continue the story that we find in the book of Daniel. Okay, so that. So then the next chapter, chapter 3. In honor of the God of Daniel, King Nebuchadnezzar makes a big statue of the image he had in the dream. Yes, he needed to learn otherwise once he confesses that God is God. But hey, this is the only way he knew how to worship a God. He came to this understanding, yeah, God is the God of God. Hey, I'm going to make him a big idol, and I'm sure he'll be really happy. But we might say, oh, how horrible. Well, don't give him a bad rap. We all come to the faith with our own set of baggage. Whether it's Catholic baggage, evangelical baggage, Lutheran baggage, Pentecostal baggage, Orthodox Jewish baggage. We all come to the faith with our own stuff. And we come to it and we bring our own stuff with it. So really, we come with our wrong theologies, with our past mistakes, and we just have to clean up. And we do it as we get exposed to the Torah and to the Word and to other brothers and sisters. Does that make sense? To me, that's how I see King Nebuchadnezzar. It was his training, so we get to know Hashem when we are yet sinners. And then, by trying to get closer to Him, we learn. We change our ways. So, but I would like to read the declaration of the king. You know this story of the idol and the three friends of Daniel. They go in the lion's den, and there is a fourth person, not the lion's den, in the fiery furnace, and then there is a fourth person in that furnace. We know this story, right? Okay. I would like to read the end of that chapter. It says, Nebuchadnezzar said, after the whole thing was said and done, he said, "Blessed be the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego." Whoa! Again. He sent his angel to deliver his servants who trusted in him. They defied the royal order to the point of being willing to give up their bodies in order not to serve or worship any god but their own God. So let's have a pause here. In chapter 1, I was telling you that Daniel didn't want it. Daniel was, if his system of asking for just vegetable for 10 days, if it didn't work, he said, if after 10 days you don't do better than the other guys, we'll do what you want. I was saying that last week. But here these guys, they will defy the commandment they will defy the commandment even if it causes their death. So what's the difference here? Well, in Judaism, there is one thing that there is sin and sin. For idolatry, no. Food, what to do? It's allowed if we have to. But idolatry is an absolute no-no. Murder also is an absolute no-no. So it's within Judaism that it's like that. Okay, just in case you thought about it, well, there were three friends that were different than Daniel. Okay, so, and then he says, here's what Nebuchadnezzar says. "Therefore, I herewith decree that anyone, no matter from which people, nation, or language, who says anything to insult the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego is to be torn from limb to limb." Whoa. Just to insult the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. And his house is to be reduced to rubble, because there is no other God who can save like this. He was impressed. Then the king gave Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego higher rank in the province of Babel. The following letter was sent out from Nebuchadnezzar the king to all the people, nations, and languages living through the earth. Shalom Rav, abundant peace. I am pleased to recount the signs and wonders which the Most High God has done for me. How great are his signs, how powerful his wonders. His kingdom lasts forever, and he rules for all generations. I mean, whoa. This is the emperor there. The emperors in those days were like demigods. Before the king, Daniel told him that his own kingdom is not going to last forever. That there's going to be other kingdoms. But he says God's kingdom lasts forever. It's like, this is a very big confession of faith. So, now, the king had to learn how to serve God. You don't do that. God doesn't want to be served and worshipped through the means of an idol, or an animal, or human. He says, so he says, in the next few chapters, Nebuchadnezzar is going to have to learn some big lessons. So in chapter 4 now, the king has another dream that Daniel has to interpret. This time, the dream exposes the king's pride. It's a dream of a tree, and you see it in the middle, he's like, oh, Babylon, my great city, and everything. And while the words are in his mouth, he had a dream of a tree. You read it yourself. So, but what's exposed was the king's pride. And in this chapter, what happens to the king is that he gets sick with a mental disease for 7 years. And during his 7 years as the chief of the wise men of Babylon, Daniel is in charge. That's probably the first, when we come to faith, that's usually the first thing Hashem has to do with us, to expose our pride. Because pride keeps us from seeing the lesson that God wants to show us. And so the Talmud says, there is no room for God in the heart of the proud, because the proud is too full of himself. When we're proud, we can't hear the voice of God. We think we know everything. But when I'm trying to go there, and your homework is to read this chapter, 2 chapters, I want to go to the end of chapter 4 again, because he makes a declaration. Did I write it here? Yes. Okay. When this period was over, 7 years, I, Nebuchadnezzar, lifted my eyes towards heaven, and my understanding came back to me. I blessed the Most High, and praised and gave honor to Him who lives forever. For His rulership is everlasting, His kingdom endures to all generations. This is a pagan emperor who says that, who's learning his lessons. All who live on earth are counted as nothing. He does what he wishes with the army of heaven and with those living on earth. No one can hold back his hand or ask him, what are you doing? It was at that moment that my understanding came back to me, and for the sake of the glory of my kingdom, my majesty and splendor also came back to me. My advisors and lords sought me out. I was re-establishing my kingdom, and my previous greatness even more was added. And to my previous greatness even more was added. For all, and so now I, Nebuchadnezzar, praise, exalt, and honor the King of heaven, for all his words are truth, and his ways are just, and he can humble those who work in pride. So maybe we don't find very much in history, in the religious history of the king, maybe in the cuneiform tablet or whatever. But it was a thing in those days when somebody displeased a little bit the status quo, that took out all the what's that?
Dissenters?
Yes. So, like for example, we don't find very much about Joseph in Egypt because it's all been erased, stuff like that. So, let's go to chapter 5, which you will have to read too for homework. So this time it takes us to the end of the Babylonian Empire, which lasted, to King Belshazzar. This is the story of the handwriting on the wall. Belshazzar was not like Nebuchadnezzar. His arrogance caused the demise of the kingdom. So, and then what happened is that Belshazzar, one night he wanted to have a party and maybe he didn't have enough cups or dishes. He went to get the cups and dishes and everything that belonged to the house of Adonai that they had plundered when they conquered Jerusalem. And they were having pagan parties with idols and God knows what, using the Lord's dishes. It was a real nose thumping at Israel. And while he was doing that, this inscription came up, Mene Mene Tekel Upharsin, which means, behold, you have been weighed in the balance and found lacking. The kingdom of the Persians is taking you over. While he was there, the walls of Babylon were said to be impregnable. Very, 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 very large. You could have 2 chariot races on the top of it. Very large. But what the Persians did, the Iranians, any city needs water, and there was a river flowing under the wall. So what they did, they further up, they diverted the water. So a couple of people could go under the wall and just open the door for everybody else to come in. And that's how Babylon was conquered. So this was the last of Babylonian kings. So here is the list. This is all the kings. The last one is Belshazzar. So 70 years. So Daniel 6 is about the Middle Persia. It was a dual. So it was a coalition, Medes and the Persians. The Medes were the administrators mostly of the kingdom. The Persians were like the army, the strength. So in Daniel 6, what we have is this story, the lion's den. When there's a new kingdom, and the wise men, they're fed up to have this Jew over them, and they're going to try to do something against him. So they go to they want to use the king's pride, and they say, hey, let's for a month, let's have everybody just worship you. How is that? And the king, oh yeah, that for a month everybody worshiping that. Great.
Wait, because I'm sorry, I explained something to her and I got lost.
So they did that, and
Is
but-
this what you're saying?
it's not yet on the page before. So I'm not explaining it.
Okay, I'm
sorry. So and they did that because they knew that Daniel would not pray to. That's idolatry. Would not pray to the king. So and Daniel every day went to his window and he prayed to the east, now to the west, because Jerusalem is the west. So so of course Daniel got caught, and they had made the decree that if anybody doesn't pray to the king or pray to anybody else, then go to the lion's den. And Darius felt really sad about it because he was a friend to Daniel. And Daniel went into the lion's den, and we know the story. He made friends with the lion, and so it's important to be friendly even to lions. So it helps, So, but also I think these lions were smart because if you know the story, what happens afterward is that all these nice big fat princes were given to the lions. So they let go of this old man who's probably a little bit tough. Then they got all the fucking princes. I think they were smart, I don't know, but they didn't eat him, and he knew how to make friends with kings and lions. That's what we need to learn too, to make friends with kings and lions. So, so as you can see, Daniel's work in Babylon straddled 2 empires. And now, after Daniel 6, we have Daniel 7. So, Daniel 2 was a dream. Daniel 7 was a vision. Daniel 2, the king had it. Daniel 7, Daniel had vision. The difference is that the dream happens when you're asleep. The vision happens when you're awake. Let's read the beginning of the vision. And as with Daniel 2, Daniel 7 contains the prophecy and the interpretation. So let's read here. I think I have it here. Okay. So this is a nice animals here. Okay, did I do that? Okay. In the first year of Belshazzar, king of Babel. So again, this is the last king, Belshazzar, where Daniel 7 takes us back to the last king of Babylon. Daniel had a dream, vision of his head, he was lying in bed, he wrote his dream down, and this is the account. I had a vision at night, I saw there before me the four winds of the sky breaking out of the great sea, and four huge animals came up out of the sea, each different from the others. So there was one like a lion, but it had eagle's wings. As I watched, its wings were plucked off, and it was lifted up of the earth and made to stand 2 feet like a man, and human hearts were given to him. Then there was another animal, a second one, like a bear. It raised itself up on one side. He had 3 ribs in his mouth between his teeth. It was told, "Get up and gorge yourself with flesh." After this, I looked, and there was another one, like a leopard. You see here this picture, like a leopard, with 4 birds weighing on his sides. The animal also had 4 heads, and it was given power to rule. And after this, I looked in the night vision, and there before me was a 4th animal, dreadful, horrible, extremely strong, and with great iron teeth. It devoured, crushed, and stamped its feet on what was left. It was different from all the animals that had gone before, and it had 10 horns. So here, this is the text. Let's see. No. Okay. So here's the interpretation. As for me, I thought I'd put it. Okay. Okay. Fine. As for me, the interpretation is on verse 15. Daniel, my spirit deep within me was troubled. The visions in my head frightened me. This is a report we often hear when people get a message from God. You know, Daniel was sick. Many people, it really affects them physiologically. And then he says, I approached, verse 16, one of those standing by, and asked him, what does this really mean? He wanted to know what it meant, and he asked somebody from the dream, from the vision. He was awake. He asked somebody from the vision, not somebody passing by in the street. And he said that he would make me understand how to interpret these things. And he says the interpretation is very simple. These 4 huge animals are 4 kingdoms that will rise on the earth. You see, these 4 animals are 4 kingdoms that will rise on the earth. But the Holy One of the Most High will receive the kingdom and possess the kingdom forever. Yes, forever and ever. Basically, that's the only interpretation he gets. And really, because of the dream from Nebuchadnezzar, Daniel doesn't need anymore. 4 kingdoms, oh, I know what they are. I know what they are. So, there's a little point here when Hashem showed Nebuchadnezzar the kingdoms of the earth. It was in a nice image of a man. Blah, blah, blah. When he shows it to Daniel, he's a bit more honest about how he feels about the empires that made the earth. He showed them rapacious, cruel, merciless, ravenous, predatory beasts. The predatory beasts that they really are, the kingdoms of man. There is no glory really in the empires and kingdoms of man, as no dominant power has ever existed and thrived without the persecution and oppression of a minority class or ethnic group. It's always like this. That's not Hashem's way. It's not going to be his kingdom. So, but why retell the story? If it's the same thing, if it's, the image of the image of Nebuchadnezzar and the four beasts, if it's the same thing, why does God retell the story? Well, he retells the story because we get a few more details. Um, Look at this first one here. The lion, the first beast, is Nebuchadnezzar. And if you remember, I told you Nebuchadnezzar had some sort of, he acknowledged the God of heaven. It's almost like a sort of salvation. He acknowledged the God of God. And here's how it's described in Daniel 7. The first was like a lion, that's Babylon. It had eagle's wings. As I watched, its wings were plucked off. And he was lifted up the earth and made to stand on 2 feet like a man. And a human heart was given to him. It gives us a little bit more about the decision that King Nebuchadnezzar made. In Jewish terms, really, a person of God is a human, a non-believer is like an animal. It's very much part of what makes us human is the Spirit of God within us. If not, we're just like an animal going after our own passions and carnal thing. So it gives us that. And then what happens after that, what we don't have, what we have extra in this dream that we don't have in the vision of Daniel 2, is we have a bit more details about what we talk in the vision of Daniel 2, the toes. You remember Rome was the legs, what were the legs made of? Made of iron, right? And the feet were made of, feet and toes, iron and clay, that didn't mix, that's right. So we get a bit more details about these toes that time, because it's good, because that's us. So it's good to have that. So okay. So here's how the period of Rome leading to the Antichrist, in the other image of the 2 legs, the feet, and the toe, is described in this prophecy. So 7. No, it's not. Do I have 7 here? No.
I'm sorry, can I just stop?
Yes.
I see this is the first beast, but you don't do the second, third, and fourth.
No, I just because I wanted to do that.
Okay.
So here's how this beast of Rome, leading into the times that we are now, to the Antichrist, is described. After this, I looked in the night vision. There was before me a fourth animal, dreadful, horrible, extremely strong, with great iron teeth. Here we get the iron, the connection with the iron. It devoured, crushed, stamped on its feet all that was left, was different from all animals that had gone before it, and it had 10 horns. So, 10 horns, okay? So, while I was considering the horns, another horn sprang up among them, a little one, before which 3 of the first horns were plucked up by the roots. In this horn were eyes like human eyes, and a mouth speaking arrogantly. So this is Rome, like the feet, Rome, the legs, feet, and toes. Rome, the big, ambitious, really bad animal, beast, monster, 10 horns. It works, right? So it's important we get that picture right, that this little horn came by itself, because in the next one there's going to be a little horn, but differently. So 10 horns equals, in biblical prophecy, 10 kings or dominions. It can also mean the whole world. 10 kings or dominions of the world. One more horn, 1 king or dominion. That takes us 3. Okay? So it says, again, while I was considering the horns, another horn sprang up among them, a little one, before which 3 of the first ones were plucked up by the root. In this horn were eyes like human eyes, and a mouth speaking arrogantly. So 10 horns, 10 kings or dominions, 1 more horn, 1 more king and dominion. That takes down 3 powers. And this little one is arrogant and powerful. The Hebrew word for arrogant is ravadvan, which conveys the idea of being domineering, pompous, narcissistic, full of oneself, stuff like that. So now we get a little bit of an idea of what's happening with those stoves. This piece gives us more details. So now let's talk about the interpretation part. Because really the question that begs to be asked, who are these three kings in Dominion that are taken down? But there's one powerful figure. And really, who is this little horn? I mean, wow, we want to know that, right? Don't you want to know that? Well, if you look in Google, you get about 2,000 choices. From the right, the left, the center, up, down, everywhere. But the problem is with that, is that everybody tries to interpret that in their own generation, in the politics of their own generation. And lo and behold, the generation passes, and so does the interpretation. I've been teaching this since the 70s. It's amazing how every 5 years somebody has a new one, a new interpretation of these things. So what I think is that we should really learn from that. Because here we can say, yeah, I can see 10, this and that, yeah, that's how it works. And now there is this guy on the scene, and I know that, and then it works, right? Everybody tries to do that, but we ought to learn not to do that in our days. Interpreting prophecy is not about shooting all kind of interpretations while hoping that something somewhere sometime will stick. That's not how we do it. We do not know these answers now. We don't. But here's what I do know, is that when it happens, we will know. There'll be no doubt. We will see it. We are given this text as intel about the future. When we see it, it will be as clear as the nose in the face. The messages of God are not secrets so that we don't only some few special people know. This Bible is written to everybody. This is intel for everybody. So this is what we need to learn about biblical prophecy. We understand it when it happens. But for now, what do we have? Let's continue with the prophecy. It's really important to read the word. I think I'm going to 9. Yes. You see, this is a verse from 29, 28. The things that are hidden belong to God. The things that are revealed belong to us. So let's deal with what's revealed. This whole text is revealed to us. The hidden belong to God. So verse 9 here. As I watched, thrones were set in place, and the Ancient One took his seat. So this was part of the vision. His clothing was white as snow, the hair on his head was pure like wool, his throne was fiery flames with wheels burning with fire. Wow, this is like Ezekiel 1, the throne of God. As Daniel watched all that, what was going on with that arrogant little horn, Daniel saw thrones being set. The throne of God is a hot rod, wheels of burning fire. Now, what's happening next, I believe, is what we need to focus our attention on. Not who are the horns, who is that little horn. That's hidden from us. But there are some things who are told us. And notably, he says, verse 10, okay? A stream of fire flowed from his presence, thousands and thousands ministered to him, millions and millions stood before him, then the court was convened. The books were opened. So what we see there is that God ruling over all the earth. You know, he was sitting this horn, doing this and doing that, but in the end, God ruled on earth. And we have the same description as this, I don't know if I put it there, in Revelation 19, in Revelation 7, when he talks about the 144,000, 12,000 of each tribe, and then billions of people worshiping. Same picture. So let's continue. He continues watching. What does he see? Then, because of the arrogant words which the horn was speaking, I watched as the animal was killed. So whoever that was, we know one thing. He gets killed. God is still on the throne and takes care of him. Whoever it is, don't care who it is really. I know, I recognize him when he comes because of all the descriptions in the Bible about it. But we know that he gets killed, so we should not worry too much. In the end, God has the last word and the last laugh. His body was destroyed, and he was given over to be murdered completely. Here goes for the arrogant one. Let's continue. 12. Oh, I didn't write it. Okay. As for the other animals, their rulership were taken away, but their lives were prolonged for a time and season. Now, all these kingdoms, like Egypt, was not power anymore since Moses. And then, same thing with Assyria, never been great power anymore. Same thing with Iraq, same thing with Iran, same thing with Greece, and even Rome went down to Italy, and that's it. So the rulership of these empires has certainly been taken away. Now, let's go to the interpretation. And again, Daniel gets the interpretation from somebody in the vision, and really there is no guessing because it's in the text. It's in the text. The interpretation is in the text. It says, I wanted to know. So we know that the first beast were the kingdoms, okay? So I wanted to know what the fourth beast meant. The one that was different from all the others, so very terrifying, with iron teeth, bronze nail, which devoured, crushed, and stamped on its feet, all that was left. So, bronze nails. Remember, there was a part of the body that was bronze. That's like Greece. The Roman Empire has always been very. It's almost like they used a lot of the Greek systems of governments and justice. So, let's go to the interpretation, and this is what he's saying. I approached one of those standing and asked him, he said, the fourth animal will be a fourth kingdom on the earth. It will be different from the other kingdom. It will devour the whole earth, trample it down, and crush it. So then he goes to the 10 horns, which we know as the 10 toes. As for the 10 horns, out of his kingdom, 10 kings will arise. 10 kings, 10 horns, 10 kings. Simple. Out of his kingdom, 10 kings will arise. And yet another will arise after them. You see, that little horn. Now he will be different from the earlier ones, and he will put down 3 kings. That's what we are given. That's the interpretation. So, from Daniel 2, we learn that these 10 nations, they will not cling together. There will not be one empire. Okay, so there will not be any more one world dominion after Rome. But who are these 10 kings? So there are many ideas floating around, suggestions. Some say it's the first 10 Roman emperors, because you see, Babylon, the first of the picture, destroyed the temple, and the 10th Roman emperor also destroyed the temple. So that's a story that fits in the temple, Emperor Titus. Some people say that. Some suggest that out of crumbling Roman Empire, 10 kingdoms did emerge. Historians agree that it's the Ostrogoths, the Visigoths, the Franks, the Vandals, the Suevi, the Alemanni, Anglo-Saxons, Haorili, Lombards, and Burgundians. And you can see these names are areas of Europe, actually. So these hordes, these people, became the foundation of the European countries that we have: France, England, Germany, Italy. These became the European countries, which never came under one single ruling. So, and it could be that both interpretations are right in their own values. But this is what, by looking at history, this is what we can come up with from the Roman Empire. It's important to realize this all comes from the Roman Empire. That little horn comes from the Roman Empire. Okay? So, yeah, we see that they didn't cling together, and people have tried for a long time to make one kingdom out of Europe. It's like you had Charlemagne, Charles V, Louis XIV, Napoleon, Kaiser William II, and Adolf Hitler. They all tried to unite Europe, and all failed, because that job was reserved for one person and one person only at the end of time. So when we see something like the European Union, we can say, uh-oh, we can't say that, we can go, uh-oh, wow. But we've got to realize anything we see as maybe earmarked. We've got to make a difference. I don't know if any of you lived in tornado areas before. In tornado areas, when there's a weather event, first you have a watch. Watch means something might be happening, be kind of ready. Then you have a warning. Warning, go to the shelter. So we're going to look at things more like a watch. Uh-oh. Is it going to be? Is it going to be? Is it going to be a tornado? So, and then there is that last ruler, that last horn. He will speak did I put it? He will speak words against the Most High. That's very important intel. And speaking words against the Most High doesn't mean he's not from the same religion, from the same church you go to, or from the same confession, the same congregation. It's not. It's just speaking words against God. You see what I mean? The arch enemy of any denomination is the denomination of the on the other side of the street. It's not that. So he will speak words against the Most High and try to exhaust the holy ones of the Most High. What's he saying? Persecution of the believers. So this is important. This is intel about to recognize that little horn. Arrogant, proud, talks against God, persecutes the believers. That's important. He will also attempt to alter seasons and the law. And the holy ones will be handed over to him for a time, times and half a time. So basically, he's going to overpower the believers. It says, they will be given to him. It says, this is a prophecy from Daniel. He will change times and laws and seasons. So some people say, that was Julius Caesar. Because Julius Caesar is the one who changed the calendar to the Gregorian calendar that we have today. It used to be called the Julian calendar, because he's the one who did it. Before that, everybody started their calendar in spring. And it's Pope Gregory of the Holy Roman Empire who made this calendar that we have, the official calendar. And so it's called the Gregorian calendar. But it's supposed to be that he's going to have the power for the times and half a time. That's exactly how he said 3.5 years in Hebrew. For those who take Hebrew, who've taken Hebrew with me, in English we have singular and plural. Okay? In Hebrew we have singular, two, and plural. So this is an exact translation of that. Like Zman, Zmanaim, Chetzizman. It's like that means 3.5 years. So the thing is, after that, the text says that the kingdom of God comes, and Yeshua has not come back after 3.5 years of the Julian calendar, the Gregorian calendar. So whereas it looks at Julius Caesar, Yeshua is not here. Of course, there are some religions who believe that we are in the kingdom of the New Testament. We are in the kingdom of God. Certain religions believe that. Certain Christian groups believe that. I don't. I don't. So we're talking here about something like that's going to happen, changing laws, taxes, and persecute believers, and have power over them at the end of the age, just preceding the return of Yeshua. We don't have that yet. So what I'm trying to do in this teaching is that to say, we still have some time. It's not like this war in Hamas with Hamas today is gonna, that's it. That's the question I'm trying to. It could be a trigger, yes, to further the trigger, but like World War I was the trigger to World War II, and you could even say World War I was the trigger that created the state of Israel, because it created World War II and the next thing. So it's important to understand these things, so it protects us from false assumptions and people who try to manipulate us in every generation, playing Chicken Little. Chicken Little, one piece of sky. Oh, the sky is falling. Oh, there is a war. Yeshua's coming back. The world is ending. You see what I mean? It's like we need to look at the word. But in the meantime, let us kind of gather the information what I've learned to be able to recognize this arrogant fellow when he appears on the scene. We get the outline of a personality. See, there is much more. There is much more in other prophecies, but this is something we learn about him. Some other prophecy says he will not have the love of woman. Some other prophecies say, there's a lot of details about it. But this is what we learn from this one. He will speak great words against the Most High. He will wear out the saints of the Most High. He will try to change times and laws. And all this will be given into his hand. He will have permission. He will be allowed to persecute us. In Daniel 12, he says, but at that time, the people who know their God shall be strong. Just want to put that out there. So his blasphemy will last 3.5 years. In a later prophecy, it says 42 months, 3.5 years. Okay, so this is not just an assumption. There's another witness that says that. So, like I said, there are more descriptions given about it in other places. And I think it's an important thing to familiarize ourselves with these details about this person. I tell you, since the 70s, so many people say, it's him, it's her, it's oh boy, But we need to, if it's one profile, it's not enough. It's going to fit them all. There's many profiles given. It's going to fit them all. Then it says in 26, this is the interpretation, but when the court goes into session, he will be stripped of his rulership, which will be consumed and completely destroyed. So it's very important here. Go back to the vision. I kept watching the night vision when I saw coming with the clouds of heaven someone like a son of man. So you see, following all that, someone like a son of man is coming. He approached the ancient one. You see, someone like a son of man coming, approached the ancient one and was led into his presence. To that someone looking like the son of man was given rulership, glory, kingdom, so that all people, nations, and languages should serve him. His rulership is an eternal rulership that will not pass away, not like Babylon or the arrogant one. His kingdom is one that will never be destroyed. So who knows? And we know who is that came, who was given the rulership of the world. But again, we have the interpretation in Daniel. There's very little guessing to do in the Bible. It says, then the kingdom and the rulership and the greatness of the kingdoms under the whole heaven will be given to the holy people of the Most High. Now that's what we need to concentrate on. The kingdom, rulership, greatness will be given to the holy people of the Most High. This is very important. This is why, in my view, it's important we learn Torah. We learn not just the ceremonial things of the Torah, but we learn how to interact together in a Torah way. We learn the principles that make the kingdom of God: honesty, generosity, integrity, truth, forgiveness, all this good stuff, this ethics, we learn today for them. It's so important. It says it'll be given to us. That means today we'll be the teachers of them. Today we try to exemplify wrongs to our families, to our neighbors, to our friends. I think the job, the responsibility will be taken to a much greater level then. And what we learn today is going to be what we teach then. We're, in this generation, in the pre-Kingdom of God generation, we're like the first fruits, leaders of tomorrow, teachers of tomorrow. So it says, their kingdom is an everlasting kingdom, and all rulers will serve and obey them. Ooh! All rulers will serve and obey them. This is the end of the account. As for me, Daniel, my thoughts frightened me so much that I turned pale. But I kept the matter to myself. Well, he literally wrote it. That's it. But so all this is very simple, in fact, when you just read it. But like I was explaining last Shabbat, the temptation is to take the narrative of the vision and play dot to dot with it, make it fit in our generation. That's a big temptation. Like, how do we know we're the last generation? Maybe there's going to be 2 or 3 or 4. So how come we make, that's the Antichrist and that's the thing, Why do we feel like doing that in every generation? We always, it's kind of human thing, we are the ones, So, many people do that, and they do that with bringing out what people call secret conspiracies of things that happen behind the scenes but that nobody knows. Nobody knows it, but it's happening. And this is very dangerous. To be a prophet of secrets and conspiracies is the easiest thing in the world. Anybody can do that. You don't even need an education, because you can say anything and you don't have to prove it. You can really say anything and you don't have to prove it, because it's a secret. I know because I'm smart. I know because I was at the right place at the right time and I'm listening to the right guy. This position is such a position of pride. We all like, I know something you don't. Oh, how we love that. I'm in the know and you're not. This is what people use. And to convince people of that, all they have to do is use circular reasoning, which says, I can't prove it because it's a secret, but the fact that it's secret makes it real. Proves that it's right. Like a Mobius strip,
Like a what?
Mobius strip. So, but that's not what God does. God takes the time to tell us things. So he wants us to know. He wants us to be warned. If it's a secret, how can we be warned? We are supposed to use this in order to chart our way in the world. And he knows these things will be there. We just have to exactly know the word. It's our human nature to be lured by being revealed what we can't see or know. It's our human nature to want to know what we're not supposed to know, to want to see what we're not supposed to see. Curiosity that killed the cat. It was actually the devil's lure with Eve. Because I'll give you my take on it. For me, as soon as someone talks to me about secret conspiracy, I reject it because they are telling me something that they think I should know, while removing from themselves the burden of having to provide me with tangible and substantial evidence. So in the end, all you have is circular reasoning, making the fact that you can't prove it the reason why it's true. Oh boy, terrible. And the people do that to us. And I know I'm hitting on some I'm walking on uncomfortable ground. I know it, okay? But people do that to us because, like the devil with Eve in the garden, they know how to feed the human addiction to sensationalism and desire for secret knowledge. And we fall for it. It's actually quite smart. But when you present scenarios without tangible and substantial proof, all you have really is rumors, which the Torah says not to follow after. All you have is a slander, which the Torah forbids. All you have is lies, which the Torah also forbids. So, and there is no secret conspiracy about the Antichrist. The Bible tells us everything we know about him and to identify him when he comes on the scene. If you want to know anything about the end time, I would say, read the Bible. If you want to know anything about the Antichrist, read the Bible. And the Bible you need to read, I would tell you, it's not just the book of Daniel or Revelation. I would say the book of Genesis is more of a prophecy book than any of the ones in the Bible. The book of Genesis is your foundation, even of prophecy. Prophecy. It's really important to really read the Bible. Any stuff that doesn't fit this sort of pattern that the Bible gives. Not playing dot to dot, take a verse here, verse here. Prove my point. That's it. No. There is a plan, there is a program. It's got to fit the exact program of God. Exactly. We love how we see the crucifixion of Yeshua at Passover, how it exactly fits, the Passover feast. It will be the same thing at the end with the Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, Tabernacles, Rosh Hashanah. It's going to fit exactly, and that's what we've got to hold the mold in our hand and make it fit. Not play dot to dot with Bible prophecies, in fact, making them fit one fact here, one there. Does that make sense? Okay, so I'll end with one verse from Isaiah. Do not call conspiracy all that this people calls conspiracy. And do not fear what they fear, nor be in dread. The Lord of hosts, him you shall honor as holy. Let him be your fear. Let him be your dread. I guess on the last point too, it's like, for me, I really feel sad when people come around and they ruffle the feathers of the body. You know, oh, be careful! Oh, be careful! If you don't do that, this is gonna happen to you. And get everybody on a excited, not excited in a bad way, in a bad way. You know, get everybody ruffled and fearful, agitated, ruffled and fearful. I think the shepherd, he brings the sheep to the green grass, the tender grass. He brings the sheep to the still waters. That's what he does. The shepherd, he can warn of danger, warn of the storm, warn of the fire in the Spirit of God that provides answers, that calms the flock. You know, if you're a leader of man, you learn that if you come to people in all agitated spirit, you can have confusion and panic. You've got to learn how to tell what's going on, give easy to understand rationale in a quiet spirit, so that you don't have a panic and everything. And the shepherd of God is gentle, and he brings people to the still waters. And when you're done listening to what he says, you have faith, you have trust that God's in control of everything, and that he's going to take care of you. So, Abba Father, we want to thank you for all these words that we have in the prophecies in your Tanakh, that teach us and give us all that we need to recognize the end of times, to recognize the time that precedes your return of Yeshua. We thank you for all this intel that you give us about this last leader in the world. And we ask that you protect us from false prophets, who you say will be very numerous at that time. Help us to always measure everything against your word, your soothing, calming, simple word. B'Shem Yeshua Mashiach. Amen.